This British dating show is one of the most brutal things I've ever witnessed.
She's not like my usual type, but I'm hers. I just feel bad for her.
Sorry.
Hello you gorgeous donuts. In this video we're going to cover the entire season of Married at First Sight UK, also known as MAFS. And trust me when I say this, you will not believe the drama that's coming in this video. It's wild. This is like my favourite show, is that sad? For those who haven't seen MAFS before, basically what happens is two people meet at the altar and they will be married on that day. They have no idea who this person is. This is a complete stranger. They've been like matchmade together by these experts who run the show, so you don't have a single clue who's coming to walk down that aisle and marry you. It's mental. It's basically like Love is Blind, but on steroids. It just gets me thinking, why would you sign up for this show? A show where you have to spend the rest of your life with somebody that you have no idea about, and you don't even know if you get on. We're going to cover every single thing that happens in this show chronologically. The wedding days, the explosive honeymoons, and I don't just mean what comes out the rear end, guys. The arguments and the fights that all the couples have, the drama that unfolds between other couples where they're basically going at each other's neck, and I can't believe this was aired on TV. How they even swap partners in this experiment. I know. Frisky. And the final vows where they decide if they do want to spend the rest of their lives together. We're also going to discuss which couples are still together today and which aren't. And finally, we're going to cover all of the drama that has unraveled since the show is finished between all of the couples. I've just never seen so much drama with a show ever, so let's just get into this. I feel like the best way to tackle this is discuss all of the weddings first before the honeymoon, so let's just get into the couples. So first up, we have Polly and Adam, who arguably have the most drama this year. Polly seems very pleased with Adam, like as soon as she sees him, she like instantly fancies him, there's like an instant attraction there. However, Adam kinda doesn't feel the same way. He says that Polly isn't his usual type. I believe he actually says this to her face as well, which is a really nice thing to say to your bride on her wedding day. Can't imagine how many people say that. This is so funny that this is happening because her, right? I think she's piss ugly. It's interesting because all of Polly's side of her family don't really approve of Adam, especially her best friend. Like her best friend, you could tell, just completely hates this guy straight away. It probably does have something to do with Adam basically saying to him that he doesn't fancy Polly. I think something little about that would probably kind of raise a few red flags in your mind. However, on the night of their wedding day, they actually did sleep together. So I don't know. Apparently he doesn't fancy her, but he still wants to, you know, get a leg over. I don't know how that works, but it did. And you're going to see why that causes a little bit of arguments down the line. Oh, it's the fact that I hate this. Like, her smile's so like bright, and he's like, is this some sort of joke, right? When's me real bright, right? You've got us. Okay, great prank. Bring the proper one in now. Like, he's almost like looking down on her for some reason, even though like these two are arguably like, you know, similar levels of attractiveness. Like, these two look like a couple that you would see. We then have Rochelle and Orson. The initial vibe between these two was really good. I believe they're both of, like, Caribbean heritage, so they had, like, that to bond over. However, Rochelle was asking Orson, like, so many questions. It was like he was on Mastermind doing his, like, specific subject. And this kind of annoyed Orson because he believed that, like, she was putting him under too much pressure, which I actually don't agree with. Like, if you've just met someone and you've married them, of course I'm going to ask you loads of questions. I need to know every single little thing about you to know if this is going to work.
Probably received 40 million questions in the space of 30 seconds.
How old's your mum then?
My mum's 16 in a couple of weeks.
What size shoes is he? I'm guessing 12 or 13 possibly. Maybe.
Why is he annoyed at that? Like, this is just cute. She wants to know about you. We then have Eve and Charlie, who are like instantly attracted to each other. These have arguably the best connection straight away. Like, the sexual connections, like, they're just in abundance. But on the wedding day, they did discuss how they've got kind of different methods of resolving drama. Charlie very much wants to like sort an issue straight away and talk about it. Like, she doesn't want to go to sleep on an argument, whereas Eve kind of likes to let things brew and like talk about it the next day. And you're going to see why that becomes a huge problem in the honeymoon. We also have Christina and Kieran, and these two are like, honestly, these are like the best couple I've ever seen. I didn't know how this was going to go when they initially met at the altar, because Kieran decided that this was a good time to do a prank.
You alright? You okay?
What the fuck?
Look at her face. Look at her. She's like, where's, that's not, If I went to the altar and, like, the bride had teeth like that, like, you know, I don't judge people on their appearance, but I'm not having it. What, you think I'm, like, going out with someone with tombstone teeth? And that's coming from me. Not exactly the best dentures in the world, but even I draw the line somewhere. Oh, please take them out. Kieran, just take them out. This is making us uncomfortable.
Oh, you look petrified?
I'm just pre-warning you, like, their journey's going to make you cry in this because I bawled my eyes out when I seen this. These two are just two really, really lovely people. Like, if you would be friends with both of them, they're both, like, amazing. We then have Sasha and Ross is actually, like, part deaf, I believe. And the reason I mention this is because Sasha knows a bit of sign language, and this is something they initially bond over, and it's really nice to see. Like, they instantly have a connection. They clearly fancy the pants off each other, and they look like a great couple. One minor thing that Sasha's worried to tell Ross about is she is actually celibate. And during the entire show, Ross makes a lot of, like, sexual jokes, so, like, initially you're like, well, is this gonna actually work? But Ross takes the news actually really well, and he just says he wants to be there for her, and he doesn't mind sleeping on the sofa. So, like, it's actually, like, really nice. Like, these two are really supporting each other from the offset. We then have Emma and Casper, and this is arguably one of the most awkward wedding days. Casper straight away says that he's not initially attracted to Emma because she reminds him of his sister. Now, I don't think that's something you can get over. Like, how are you going to sleep with someone and be thinking about your sister? What have I just said there? Sometimes I need to take a check about what I'm actually saying in these videos, guys. Apologies. And we do get introduced to Casper's sister, and I can't lie, they're basically the same person. They even look really similar, but their personality, they're, like, high energy. So I kind of get where he is coming from, especially when he's talking about his sister. He talks about her in a negative light a lot of the time. Like, he talks about how she annoys him, and he's not really that fond of her. So it's not really the perfect personality traits that you kind of want in your partner. Next up, we have Holly and Alex, who bring a lot of drama to this show. I'm just foreshadowing you. Foreshadowing you, is that a word? I don't think that's a phrase, is it? Things start off really well between these two. Like, when they meet at the altar, they straight away fancy each other, and they look like a great couple. However, Holly actually is a mother of two, and she's really afraid to tell Alex this because Alex has no kids himself, and obviously that's, like, a big thing to, like, tell someone, and it's, like, a lot of trust because you're kind of bringing him into your kid's life. You need to make sure that this is the right guy for your kids. Alex then says that it wouldn't be his preference to have a partner who has kids, but he is open to the idea. Now, it's a little bit of a funny kind of statement to say. I guess it's completely, like, fair to write that in your application that you would prefer if your partner doesn't have kids, because then you can start a family together fresh, I guess. But it probably isn't a nice thing for Holly to hear, because then it means, like, yeah, it's just a bit awkward, isn't it? Last up on the initial couples that appear on this show, we have Lacey and Nathan. Now, during their wedding day, one of the most awkward things happens, as before Nathan actually meets Lacey, Lacey's sister walks down the aisle, and Nathan thinks that that is Lacey and the girl he's gonna be marrying.
Oh, wow.
That's not her.
No, it's a twin.
Just joking. I actually think you're ugly. No, you shouldn't. Should you have said that? I think it probably would have made the situation better, would it? I don't know what. How do you recover from that? What do you say? Oh, by the way, I just called your sister fit. Do you want to swap? Right? Ref. Sub. Get in. It's just a little bit awkward. Obviously, there's no mean intentions with it. And with, like, a camera crew, etc., you're going to be so nervous. You're probably just going to act erratically. But she's not even wearing white. Like, why would you think your bride would be wearing pink? Nathan does struggle with ADHD, like myself, so he is a little bit away with the fairies sometimes. So I think that's why he just didn't clock on that this isn't actually his bride. And then Lacey walks down the aisle, and he gives her like a little bit of a less reception, I guess.
Alright.
Hello. Yeah, he's gorgeous. I said I wanted the 40s, and I've got it.
So obviously, like, he said wow to our sister, but to Lacey he went, "You're right." Now, Lacey's obviously, like, beautiful, and she actually says in interviews to the camera after that she would have appreciated if Nathan had, like, said to her, like, "You look amazing, you look beautiful." Just a little bit of reassurance on the wedding day, like, it goes a long way. So yeah, Lacey's not too sure at the moment, especially, like, the banter isn't quite there. I feel like these two are more of a slow burning couple rather than, like, that initial kind of, like, razzmatazz. Wow, that's new. Now, all of these couples jet off to their honeymoons. The first honeymoon we see is Polly and Adam, and this starts off really well. They're kind of getting on with each other. However, it very quickly goes sour. Adam seems quite distant from Polly, and I think it's because of that initial attraction. He's not really feeling it, and Holly confronts him about it, and they kind of have an argument. Rochelle and Orson have an absolute honeymoon from hell. Like, Rochelle straight away says that she doesn't trust Orson. I have no idea why. She keeps bringing loads of stuff up about him. Like, for instance, Orson does acting in his spare time, and Rochelle's saying he's basically acting now, like he's using this to like further his career. She automatically has this like story about him before she even really knows him, and we never really see any of these negative behaviours from Orson on camera, so I can only, like, looking from Rochelle's point of view, this must only be happening off camera, and she seems to get really frustrated on camera, so I wonder if this is why. I have no idea why she hates Orson already, but she does. She even storms off from the production team at one point and says that she's done, she's not returning. There's one point when they're having a date and Orson brings up that he got cheated on 5 years ago, and Rochelle basically says to him, what, are you not over that? Like, why are you bringing that up? Why are you sad about that? There's no need to be sad about getting cheated on. Like, this woman is stone cold. She says that she wants an alpha man, like a man that is not hurt by things, but I'd say, like, arguably Orson opening up to you about how he got cheated on is like a good thing. He's trying to like bond with you emotionally, but she hates it. She completely shuts him down.
You know, those feelings come back to me. I revisit like 5 years ago.
If you can't get over being cheated on 5 years ago, like, you, like, what the hell?
Oh my, get out, Orson! Get out! This is not the woman for you! I would argue 5 years isn't even that long. Like, if you get cheated on, that can, like, last an entirety. Like, it's like a complete break of trust. Going into your next relationship, it changes how you interact with someone because you're instantly starting on the back foot because you're trauma from your previous relationship. I think he's completely fair in, like, feeling this way, but Rochelle doesn't seem to think so. She then storms off after this, of course, as you would do, hearing that someone got cheated on 5 years ago. It's the only kind of option that you can do. Storm off in anger, in anguish. Instantly, these honeymoons are just kind of showing the cracks in all of these relationships. Like, next up we have Eve and Charlie, and they have arguably one of the most explosive honeymoons. The 8-off fish guys didn't go down well, honestly. Toilet got battered. So Charlie is like obsessed with Eve. Like, you can tell that she's kind of like totally, I don't want to say in love, but she's just feeling the vibes. She really wants to move quickly with Eve, of course, because they're basically married at this point. However, Eve, I think she wants to move like a lot slower. Like, I feel like this experiment is like really, really overwhelming for her. But her actions kind of don't match up with what she's saying. Like, her and Charlie slept together. However, as soon as they'd like finished sleeping together, Eve left, slammed the door, and went and slept in another room. Like, how cold is that? As soon as she touches water, it must just turn into an ice cube. Like, imagine how humbling that would be. Like, if you slept with someone and then instantly they just couldn't be in the same room as you after, I'd be like, wow, was I really that disgusting? Was it that bad? Really? In this entire honeymoon, I honestly believe the only words that Eve muttered after, like, the first day were this: sorry, Charlie, I just need space. Charlie, can you give us some space? Sorry for the terrible Irish accent there. But she wouldn't say anything else, just constantly, I just need space. Like, bro, how much space do you need? Genuinely. Who are you, Jupiter? There's only so much space you can have. We're on a honeymoon together. Do you just not want to see me? Sorry, Charlie, I just need some space. Honestly, I was like screaming at my telly. I was like, love, just hold her hand or just stand next to her. I don't think after the first night they slept in the same room for like the entirety of the rest of the holiday, which, you know, isn't the most romantic honeymoon to have.
I was shouting through your door to try and get your attention because you left me alone again. I'm not doing this.
Like, that's Eve's response to everything, unfortunately, for Charlie. Like, these two just have total different kind of communication skills. Well, actually, they don't really, because Eve just has no communicational skills. If she gets wound up by anything, she just storms off. If she hears something that she doesn't like, she's just gone. Rather than, like, sitting there and, like, working it out and understanding why Charlie might be feeling this way. I just feel like Eve can't see it from other people's point of view other than her own. Which is a real shame, because Charlie really fancies her. Like, they're really physically attracted to each other. But Eve just, for some reason, can't get past this kind of communicational barrier she has. Probably because she needs so much space. I'm annoying myself.
I was maybe gonna take tonight to myself. I don't want that to upset you though. Is that gonna upset you? Whatever makes you happy.
And as you can see, like, Charlie, for a lot of it, goes, you know what, that's fine, you just have your space. But there comes a point where Charlie, like, puts her foot down and be like, look, like, do you actually want to be with me? Like, it seems like Charlie's coming off as quite on top of her, but it's just because she's getting nothing back from Eve. Literally zero effort. The entirety of this honeymoon, Eve has just spent, like, at the gym. Like, that's just basically just treating it like she's on like a solo holiday. Moving on, we have Christina and Kieran, and these two have a really good honeymoon. They like learn a lot about each other, and they really open up about like what each other struggle with. For instance, Christina opens up about a PMDD, and that's obviously something that is really close to her heart, something that she struggles with a lot. And the way that Kieran handles this is like just perfect. Like, these two just seem like they've literally been plucked from heaven for each other. He's really empathetic towards her, and he's like, look, I'm gonna work through this with you. Like, when you're struggling with your PMDD, I'm gonna be there for you as best I can. And that's kind of all she wants to hear. Like, obviously he's not gonna be able to fix it, and she doesn't want him to fix it. She just wants him to just be there for her. Just for people that don't know, PMDD is classed as a chronic health condition that causes severe emotional and physical symptoms in the week or two before a menstrual period. I know a couple of people that struggle with this. I'm not too clued up about it, but I just believe that it kind of like emphasizes how that like the feelings of already being on your period would be, but just by like 1,000. And it's something that people really struggle with, and it's actually good that Christina has brought this up, because a lot of people wouldn't know what this is unless you kind of have struggled with it. Definitely not a lot of guys would know, and it's just good for people, like, if they do feel really intense during that period, to kind of be like, maybe I struggle with that, and like kind of seek help for that. Sasha and Ross have a really good one. They actually get to sleep in the same room with each other, even though Sasha's celibate, right? That lasted long. God, you must fancy the bloody pants off him, she does. She also opens up to Ross about how she's been cheated on in the past, and these two just have a really good bond together on this honeymoon. On the other hand, Emma and Caspar have a pretty horrendous one. Caspar basically says to Emma that he's not really attracted to her, and that he normally wouldn't go for a curvy woman. That's a great thing to say to your missus, isn't it? Or just to anyone, really. Emma then basically says to Caspar, like, you need to improve your view on women, like, in general, because that's like a really bad thing to say to someone. Like, that's genuinely just something that I can't change.
I rarely have gone for the curvier person.
Do you think I look sexy tonight?
Say yes! Say yes! Say yes! Ah! 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 Oh! Don't say that! What, you don't think I look sexy? No. It's the way he says it. No. Whilst he's there, looking like bloody, I don't even know, like Shrek when he turns human. Not like in a bad way, but just, you know, at least like look at yourself before you say someone else isn't sexy. She looks great. Look at her. With that floral little dress on. Very little sexy number, if you ask me. I don't feel like I'm the judge on sexiness, but I'm just trying to make her feel better, if I'm honest. However, they do agree that they are going to just kind of put this in the past and kind of move forward, but I don't feel like that really is going to happen. That's not just something you just forget. Holly and Alex argue on the first day because Holly's angry that Alex fell asleep on the first day of the honeymoon because he was apparently jet lagged. Now, I think this is where you instantly just see the huge cracks in these two's relationship that you're going to see later on in this video have absolutely horrific endings. But does that lead to the end of the relationship? You're gonna have to wait and see. I think both of these just like, they're one of them couples that just love an argument. Like, they love just, like, they get a kick out of it for some reason. However, they actually are like fine the rest of the honeymoon and they actually have a really nice time. Finally, Lacey and Nathan, they have quite a nice honeymoon. However, Lacey has like a couple of reservations because she doesn't believe that Nathan has much like emotional depth to him, which I would argue is true, because a lot of the time you kind of just, he looks like, you know, like the lights are on but no one's home kind of vibe. He's lovely, but like he just doesn't ever seem like he's kind of there. He's a little bit like me. Like, it's as if like some part of the day, it's as if you've just had like a lobotomy and you're kind of just like dazed out of just looking at the stars. I just did it there and I just completely forgot that I was recording a video. There's this one part where she talks about losing friends in a car crash, like they unfortunately passed away, and Nathan's response to it is just like kind of just so cold.
Two very good friends of mine to car crashes. So for ages I kept, you know, getting flashbacks every time I'd be in the car. I will get there, it's just obviously little hiccups in my life that's happened. And
Cool.
That's not funny. It is, but no, it's not. Like, it's not fun. It's... I need to sit down. She's really opening up to him there, like, talking about friends that have passed away and talking about a car crash. Like, I really, like, you know, that's a really, really trauma-filled conversation, and she's really opened up there. And his only response was... cool. He was definitely thinking about, like, which substitution he's going to make on, like, Football Manager or something when he gets home. Like, I can tell with his ADHD, he just wasn't there. And I just want to say, like, this doesn't make him a bad person at all, because later in this video, you're actually going to see how sweet Nathan is. But I do feel like myself, like other people that struggle with ADHD, like, you have to try extra hard in conversations to really, really be dialed in. And I feel like when he doesn't, it really shows. Now that the honeymoons have finished, all of the couples move in together in, like, the same apartment block in, like, a one-bed flat, I believe, each of them. And this is basically the real start of the experiment, where they're, like, back to reality. Over the course of the next 7 weeks, there's a variety of challenges. There's, like, dinner parties they have every single week. Every single week they also have a commitment ceremony, and this is, like, the most important part of the process. Basically, they have to sit down with the 3 matchmaking experts, talk about, like, the week, like, how well it's gone, the bad things, the good things. And then at the end of each of these commitment ceremonies, they need to, like, hold up a card and be like, yes, I want to stay, or no, I want to go home. And one interesting thing that I love about the structure of this show is if one person wants to go home, but one person wants to stay, they have to stay and work it out. So for you to leave, both of the people have to be like, nah, this is not on. And this just means you get so much more drama, because normally, like, if you don't like someone, like, on Instagram or whatever, when you're talking, you just ghost them, or you block them, or you just say, I don't want to speak to you anymore. Whereas you can't do this, because if the other person still likes you, you're fucked. Oh, this is so good. Sorry, guys, I get too into reality TV. This is, like, a real special interest of mine. Name a reality TV show, I've probably seen it. Now, before they have their first commitment ceremony, all of the couples meet for the first time and have a dinner party and kind of talk about each other's relationships. Polly and Adam have a really bad time at this dinner party, as somebody asks Adam, what would you rate Polly out of 10? And he says 4. I don't know why. Why are these men? Why are they so rude? Like, a 4? Really? Like, that's bad. If I was going out with Gollum, I wouldn't give him a 4. I'd probably give him a 5. And that's Gollum. Loves a ring, though, right? That wouldn't be coming off Gollum's finger. Not at all. When Polly finds this out, she actually storms out, like, gets up from the dinner party and is like, oh, a 4. I'll give you 4. Fuck off.
I'm a fucking good person. I've been brought up with fucking good people. And I fucking, do you know what I mean?
Now, I can't wait to discuss the drama that these two have, because I find it so interesting. Polly said that she's a good person there, and I don't know by the end of this video if you're going to kind of agree with her. Maybe you will. I have no idea, because I feel like everyone's got a different opinion on Polly. But one thing I will say that she is great for, she is great for reality television, because she actually does have a personality. If you had 12 Adams in this show, it just wouldn't be worth watching. But 12 Pollys, Christ, there's a dinner party to be at. One thing I will say about Polly is I do believe she is a little bit insecure, just because of previous relationships, possibly, where, you know, she may not have been treated the best, because she constantly brings things up that, like, she necessarily doesn't need to worry about. Like, she talks about how Lacey would be Adam's type on, like, the outside world, when in reality they've not really shown that they even like each other. Like, she kind of makes scenarios in her head that aren't even a thing and then gets stressed about them, which a lot of people do, but I feel like she does it a lot, and that puts a lot of strain on her and Adam. But later in this video, you're going to see why she might be quite warranted for doing this. One thing about this dinner party that was pretty shocking is Eve and Charlie walk in together, like, holding hands. Like, one thing I will say about these two is no matter if they're, like, tearing each other's souls out behind the scenes, in front of everyone, they kind of treat it like they're fine. They very much care what other people think about them. However, Eve does tell all the girls about kind of, like, how evil Charlie is. Like, she kind of turns the girls against Charlie, and Charlie feels quite isolated, because obviously, as the girls, if Eve is telling you all these awful things about Charlie, you're going to be, like, empathetic towards that, and you're going to automatically think a certain way about Charlie, even though you shouldn't, because you should get it from both sides. But with the girls being closer to Eve, they kind of just believe her straight away. In this dinner party as well, Emma tells the girls about what Casper said about her weight, and the girls are like, what? No, he didn't. You're bloody gorgeous, you love, you bloody are. You deserve better than that. Moving on, it's now time for the first commitment ceremony to see if any of the couples possibly leave. All of the couples did in fact decide to stay. I don't know if this is because, like, even if they don't really like their partner, they still want to be on television. Like, this is one thing during this video, you're gonna have to kind of work out whether people are only staying with that person because they want more airtime. It's so weird because in a lot of these relationships down the line, it's so toxic, but they still decide to stay, and I have no idea why. The biggest bit of drama in this commitment ceremony was from Holly and Alex. They actually sat on the couch like as far apart as you could be because the night before they had an argument. Because Holly found out that pre the wedding day on the night before, Alex had told the boys that if he didn't like his bride, he'd be up for like wife swapping with someone else. And Holly got really annoyed at this comment, even though like he'd never met Holly before he said that. It's still just a weird thing to say, and that's instantly going to make Holly feel like, if I say something you don't like, are you just going to swap us out? Like, I can see why she would be annoyed at that comment, but Alex just can't see why, because he keeps saying that, like, I didn't know you at that point, and obviously I don't want to swap you now. He just can't see it from her point of view.
Where's your wedding ring?
I don't know. In my bag, I think.
Because you're disrespectful and you're very childish.
Oh, that's more name calling.
Yes, because you are a child, Alex.
One thing I will say about this couple, before we get into like further down this video where you're going to see like the real kind of personalities of these two, I don't really like either of them. Like, I'm not really on either one of their sides. I feel like they're both just kind of toxic and they both just try and hurt each other for no reason. When Holly feels sad and like the way she kind of speaks to people is like aggressively, Alex just laughs in her face and just like doesn't like take on what she's saying, which like makes her more angry. And then when Alex is annoyed, he's pretty scary. Like, I wouldn't want to be alone in a room with Alex if me and him didn't get on, because I feel like he would like, I don't even know what he would do. The way he stares at her is like so creepy. However, they do actually decide to stay in the process because they want to try and work it out in the next week. In the second week of all the couples being home in this experiment, not much drama really happens. The main bit of drama happens is between Eve and Charlie. Like, these two are just going for each other's throats. Eve says to the girls that she's basically getting bullied by Charlie. Like, the way Charlie speaks to her, etc., makes her feel really scared and like kind of like low. And Charlie has no idea about this. Now, on camera, from what we see, and it is important to note, like, we don't see everything. We only get like 4 hours a week of content from these guys, and it's not just from one couple, it's from loads of couples, so it's even less when you really boil it down couple by couple. But being honest, I never saw one trait or one like instance where Charlie acted in a way that would be considered bullying. Like, she seems like a really sweet and a little bit insecure girl, but she seems like she's got like a lot of love and she just wants to give someone like her entire heart and just be vulnerable with someone. Whereas Eve is a little bit like the complete opposite of that. Like, Eve looks like she's kind of hiding who she truly is. It's almost like she's got like a wall where she doesn't let anyone in, probably because she might have been hurt in the past. But again, like, you can't, I know as hard as it is, you can't really bring past trauma into a new relationship because the person that you're with doesn't deserve that. And when Charlie finds out that Eve has been saying behind her back that she's a bully, she goes absolutely mental, and of course you would.
You didn't tell me that you thought I was a bully.
Charlie, I told you that you were verbally and didn't I say you're emotionally and verbally abusing me? That's a horrible word. That could be her use of word.
Like, awful word.
That is a really big word, especially on television, like, because you know how that's kind of like can be construed, and it's like you're basically like putting this label over someone, and people automatically are going to believe this because they know they don't know everything. Charlie, I didn't say that. All I said was I needed space. I just needed space, Charlie. How could I be bullied when I needed space? I really need someone to go through Married at First Sight and see how many times this woman said space. Now, I just want to go back in time because the person that told Charlie and confronted Charlie about this was Polly. And if there's one thing that Polly does well in this show, is she is always involved in other people's drama. If there's drama, Polly is somehow involved in it.
Who used the word bully then?
Me.
But you haven't asked me at all what went
I haven't,
down.
and this is why I've just told you what I've said, which is why I'm now asking.
Like, Charlie's exactly right there. Like, Polly, for some reason, feels the need to involve herself. Like, she's only heard one side of the story, so instantly she just goes over and goes, oh, yeah, I've heard that you're a bully, etc. Whereas like, she hasn't heard anything from Charlie's point of view. She could have went over to Charlie, got her side, and went, oh, Eve's feeling this way because of that. Just be nicer about it. But you're going to see in this entire series, Polly is really, like, the way she speaks to people is just really awful. And it gives, like, bully vibes. Like, she seems like a little bit of a bully the way she speaks to people. It's honestly a little bit of projection. And I know that's a big word for me to use, like, when I've just called her out for using it. But I honestly feel like if I was in this show, I would be a little bit scared of Polly. There's some parts in this where I really feel sorry for Charlie because, like, there's one part where she's, like, speaking to the producers in, like, a private room where you're away from everyone. No one is meant to listen to you. You're meant to just tell the camera how you're feeling. And it's a little bit of, like, a moment where you can kind of just get some things off your chest without anyone listening, apart from, obviously, everybody at home. But we later find out that Eve, whilst Charlie was, like, you know, opening up to the camera, actually had her ear pressed against the door so she could hear everything. Like, that's really, really psycho and arguably a huge break of trust from her. Because how are you meant to trust someone when they're, like, secretly, like, listening in on your conversation? Like, it's so weird. I can see why, from Eve's point of view, she would want to hear what Charlie's saying about her, but just talk. Like, when you never want to talk to her face to face, like, when you two chat and you storm off every time, that is where you open up, and that is where you find out about how Charlie's really thinking. Don't press your ear against a door and secretly try and find out so you can use it against her. It's really, really weird behaviour. And when Polly and Adam are sitting on the sofa with the experts, Adam says something that's really weird.
Another groom comes in the door and says, Adam, I love everything about Polly. I'd like to pursue her, and I just want your permission. What would you say?
No.
But I would say go for it because I want her to be happy.
Don't say that! Yeah, go for it, as long as I can sit in the corner with a bag of Doritos and watch. Is that alright? Was that part of the... No, that... But I just forgot I said that, yeah. Adam thinks he's being nice saying that, but that's actually one of the worst things you can say, because imagine how Polly would feel. Like, that just makes you feel totally unwanted. Your literal husband is going, yeah, if someone wants to take her off me hands, I'm completely fine with that. How would that make Polly feel? The vibe Adam gives off is if he's being respectful saying that, but it's like the total opposite. And that's one thing that I find really interesting during this entire experiment, because the way Polly interacts with, like, other people is, like, really bad and, like, is kind of, like, hard to watch. But I think a lot of it comes down to because how she's been treating her own relationship, because she's actually been treating her own relationship really badly. Like, she's not feeling wanted. She's wanting more PDA from Adam. Adam has stopped sleeping with her, like, is rejected her since the wedding night. So that's making her feel like, well, why does he no longer want to sleep with us? Because after the first night, that was fine, but now he doesn't fancy her. Like, loads of stuff will be going through her head, and I feel like she projects that to the whole group. That doesn't give her an excuse to talk to, like, Charlie the way that she did, but I'm just saying that's the reason why she probably feels so much anger, etc. Especially when you're constantly comparing yourself, because every couple starts off at the same point, so you're bound to compare yourself to other people because you're all on a similar journey here. And if other couples are doing really well, you're going to be, like, looking and being like, well, why aren't we like that? And you're going to just be looking at problems and looking at basically your relationship in a negative light. However, after this, both of them still decide that they want to stay in the experiment. Why? Literally, Polly, Adam said he doesn't want to be with you, and he's also called you a 4 out of 10. Why do you want to be with this man? Why? Oh wait, I'll tell you why, because it's live on Channel 4. Right, that opportunity doesn't come round a lot, does it, guys? It's either this or Naked Attraction, right? You've just got to stay in and brave it, really. I think a lot of these couples, like, if they're not happy, they kind of do brave it until it comes to, like, the swapping part where they can possibly, like, matchmake with other couples. Rochelle and Orson have no complaints. They both decide that they want to stay together. Same with Christina and Kieran. Them two are just, oh my god, they're like God's gift. Oh! Fucking hell. Sasha and Ross say some lovely words together. Them two look like they're really growing a really strong bond. Emma and Caspar aren't actually living in the same apartment as each other because, like, Caspar has made it clear that he doesn't fancy her, and Emma says that she can't see them ever sleeping together. However, they both say, yes, we want to carry on. Why? Why? Tell me. Why? Yous two completely aren't right. He said that if he shags you, it's going to be like shagging his sister. How are yous going to get past that? I'll give yous one clue. Yous aren't. Fuck me, man. Holly and Alex spent most of the week not living together, and also they had arguments, but then they kind of seemed to patch it up towards the end near the commitment ceremony, and they both decide to stay, which you're going to see later on in this video. Was that a good decision? Who knows? Lacey and Nathan both decide to stay. However, we have our first couple that get ejected from the process. They both say, leave. Who is it? It's Eve and Charlie. Oh! What? Not even Charlie! Now, one thing I want to know, and I know this is a strong word, but I believe Eve kind of manipulated a lot of the people in this process to feel a certain way about Charlie, and Charlie felt really, really isolated. It was really hard to watch. And nobody called Eve out on her behaviour. Like, not a single person stood up to her. The only person during this entire process that stood up to her was one of the experts, and it was honestly one of the best things I've seen on this show yet.
Charlie, it's okay. Eve, with respect, you've lied on the couch today.
I need to put a coat on. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look. Goosebumps. Fucking goosebumps. Oh my God. Enough to make the hairs on the back of your chest. The chest of your back. Something's going up. You can see by Charlie's face there, it's like, oh my God, like it's almost as if someone's eyes have been opened to this, like somebody is finally agreeing with us. I actually felt really sad for her because this is like a huge moment for her where she's like, look, I'm not a terrible person, like this is not how it seems.
I fell for her at the wedding and I keep getting empty promises. I'm going to move in. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So I'm holding on to it because I want it so bad.
It's the hope.
It's so sad because she's not even saying bad words about Eve. She's not name calling her. She's not saying anything like that. And you can just see how upset she is. And it's so sad that none of the group recognised this. It's so interesting because Polly actually issued an apology on her Instagram story when this episode got aired, being like, I'm sorry, I was literally manipulated by Eve. Just a message about tonight's episode. Please remember to keep an open mind with things on TV. We saw a lot of Eve most days and nights as she was always with one of us, and Charlie hardly ever while we were in the apartments. Naturally, being closer with one party, you do believe what someone's saying to you about their partner if they're nowhere to be seen and you haven't spoke to them about anything. It's really upsetting to see how blindsided we all were with this situation, but please know I and the other girls did apologise profusely to Charlie, and we are all good and speak daily, because Holly got a lot of hate for obviously being one of the instigators of kind of removing Charlie from the group as well as Eve. So it was nice that she did put that on her story. I just feel really sorry for Charlie because, you know, she really put everything into this process and all she got back was, sorry Charlie, I just need space. Fucking space. And just a note on Eve, hopefully she has the space that she needs. I don't know how. Maybe she's, you know, took up a career as an astronaut or something. That's probably the right move for her. It's now time for a brand new week, and during this week we have like phase 2 of these new couples entering the experiment. There's Amy and Luke, Hannah and Stephen, and also Shannon and Ryan. So these three kind of have their weddings, their honeymoons, and their return to the UK all in one. So that's how we're going to cover it. Now, Amy and Luke kind of had like an initial attraction. Like both of these, they look like a Barbie and Ken. Like these two are like very attractive, like naturally attractive people. However, I believe Amy kind of got the ick during this wedding because Luke is like very intense. It's almost like somebody like sculpted him from a novel. The man looks like a prince, but the way he speaks, like it's very like, ooh, let me just unbutton your dress and maybe I can pleasure your parts that are very... Sometimes you need to just kind of just calm down, right? Talking in the third person as well, that's an ick. He's just like, he's a bit cringe for some people. Like, if I had a girlfriend who was speaking like this, I'd be like, oh, okay. However, he is being really nice to her, and I don't believe Amy's kind of used to a person like this. Like, Amy says herself that she's used to somebody that's like a little bit more like, not necessarily mean to her, but just not as like lovey-dovey.
Oh, la la Madonna. She's just magical, just beautiful, from the Garden of Eden.
She's beautiful. She's from the Garden of Eden. Like, who speaks like that? Was this man sculpted by a woman I think so. Well, actually, later on in this video, you're going to see possibly why he may not have been sculpted by a woman. Maybe he's a very kinky one. The pair then jetted off to their honeymoon, and they had like a really good honeymoon. I believe that they shared a kiss. They actually like got on really well. And when they both returned to the UK and met up with like the rest of the contestants in the experiment, like they couldn't believe how beautiful they looked. Like, I can't lie, if them two walked in, you can like you're bound to just feel humbled. You'd be like, wow, like how did they get like all the upgraded specs? Like, what happened to me? Right? Look at this guy's teeth. How? Give him something bad. See, instantly I'd just be like, but he's got a tiny penis. But it's tiny. It's got to be, hasn't it? It has to, surely. And unsurprisingly, in their first commitment ceremony, they were basically like just enthralled by each other. They're obsessed with each other. They have nothing bad to say about each other. Just wait. Next up, we have Hannah and Stephen, and Hannah and Stephen got on really well in their wedding. Like, they've got an instant connection. They're both quite, like, loud. They're both, like, a laugh.
Hello. Oh, you're really cute.
I'm Stephen. You look stunning.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. You look incredible.
Hello. Thank you so much.
You've got to be, like, buzzing, haven't you? Like, if someone walks down the aisle and you instantly fancy them. Like, you know, if you're instantly not attracted to them physically, it must be a little bit of a kick in the teeth. I know it's something that no one really wants to admit, but, like, if you're marrying someone, you do want to have that instant connection with them. However, Hannah was shocked to hear that Stephen actually has 4 children. Like, obviously, that's, like, a really nice thing that he's got 4 children, but when you find that out after marrying them, that is, like, it's a little bit intense. Because not only are you trying to, like, fit, like a brand new person into your life who you know nothing about, you've also got to fit 4 children that you also know nothing about, especially when you don't have children and you're not used to that. That's a little bit of a shock. Hannah also asked Stephen, like, if he would be open to having more kids in the future. Christ, he's going to have, like, an 11-a-side football team at this point. And Stephen kind of said he would be open to it down the line if he met someone that he really likes. However, as soon as these two went on their honeymoon, this is where, like, the drama just unfolds. And during the rest of this season, it's one of the main talking points. So they apparently had a row off camera, and Stephen decided to sleep in a different bedroom to Hannah. And then the producers, like, clearly sat them both down outside the hotel and got them to speak about it. And this is where we see, like, a really kind of strange moment happen.
You didn't ask my needs. Afterwards, you've come away and gone, at least I got my way. Have those words left your mouth?
Yeah, you're doing what we said we wouldn't do, and you said something off camera, and now you're saying it on camera. Now you pissed me the fuck off with that comment, mate. Not lying. Do you want to talk about all the shit we've said off camera then? Shall I do it to you?
Now, obviously, like, Hannah's really angry because Stephen's brought something up that they talked about off camera, and they've agreed they're not going to talk about on camera, and then he's went and done it. However, Hannah has kind of threatened to use some information that Stephen has told her in confidence, which I imagine it kind of alludes to it being about his kids, about his family. Like, imagine Hannah brings that up. The thing that Stephen brought up wasn't really that big. It was like a little comment about Hannah always getting away. Really, really kind of small stuff. But like, Hannah threatening to use that against Stephen is, like, really big, because we don't know what he's opened up to her about, but he might have been, you know, quite open about like why not, he might not be with, like, the baby mom anymore. I felt for Stephen during this point, and this exact comment that Hannah made, Stephen just can't seem to shake off for the rest of the honeymoon. He's constantly in a mood with that, which I guess is kind of fair, but are you just gonna hold this against her forever? Like, if you actually like her, are you gonna at least try and make this work, or are you just constantly gonna focus in on this one mistake she made? However, at the end of the honeymoon, they do actually have a final date, and Stephen agrees to have, like, baby steps with Hannah to, like, recover their marriage. I don't know what that even means. So they then returned to the UK and had their first commitment ceremony, and this was just so awkward. Like, Stephen literally said to the experts and to Hannah that he doesn't trust her at all. Trust is clearly something Stephen really, really struggles with, and it seems like at this point Stephen is just completely shut off. Like, he actually votes to leave. However, Hannah votes to stay because she wants to work on it, so obviously they have to continue for another week. It's so brutal that if one person wants to leave, the other person has to agree with them, otherwise they've got to stay. Like, it's horrendous, but it's great telly. Oh, thank you, Channel 4.
You told Hannah something in confidence, and you feel as if she used it as ammunition against you.
I would never do that to a human being. Okay. But you don't believe me.
No, I don't.
No, it is really difficult because I just, like, even though Hannah's saying, well, I wouldn't do it, it's like, you're still not, like, taking into account how that made him feel because you threaten to do it, which is almost as bad as doing it because, like, you're kind of holding it against him. And he's constantly, for the rest of this experiment, going to be like, if I mess up, is she going to use this again? Actions speak louder than words, guys. Right? Someone stick that on a t-shirt with my name underneath it. I didn't make the quote. I'm lying. The last of the new couples, Shannon and Ryan, actually have a great wedding day. Like, they both fancy each other. Shannon's first impression of Ryan was that he's like a little bit of a fuckboy, because if you look at him, he does just look like one, you know, like a pretty guy, like chiseled jawline, great art. Why does this sound like I fancy him? I don't fancy him. Shut up. I didn't say that, right? He does have great eyes, though. Great eyes. How do some people get it all? One deep thing that they both kind of bond over is Shannon actually lost her dad to cancer, and Ryan himself has actually had cancer a couple of times, I believe. And they really open up to each other about this, and I feel like this really helps Shannon kind of connect with Ryan, because it shows, like, you know, he's not just like this pretty boy, he's got like a deep side to him. They then went on their honeymoon and had a really good time together. I believe they were actually intimate with each other. Right? Fucking... you know? They then returned to the UK and had their first commitment ceremony, and they just said they basically are really happy that they've been matched together. They feel like they're perfect for each other. Oh, God! Young love, guys. Amazing. Now, during all of these commitment ceremonies that these new couples are having for the first time, all of the original couples are also there having their own commitment ceremony. Polly and Adam are the first ones to go on the sofa and talk to the experts, and they say that they've had like an absolute game-changing week, as this is the first time since the wedding night that they've been intimate. It's so weird, like, I know that's like the whole show, but it's so weird just like listening to people tell you that they've had sex. It's, you know, it's very personal, this show. I'm glad they don't go into too much detail, because, you know, that's even enough for me, guys. Adam says that he wished he'd done this sooner, because it's like helped him have like a better connection with Polly, because like during this entire experiment he was kind of holding back because he didn't want to lead her on, but then obviously you're just not going to build a connection unless you like fully jump in with 2 feet, and this is like the first moment that Adam is doing that. However, Polly isn't too happy because she still wants more PDA from Adam. Like, this is the entire thing she says during this experiment, which Adam never really gives her. She wants him to like kiss her, hug her, I don't know, slap her bottom in public. I don't know what she wants. But Adam just says he's not the type of person to do that. But I feel like, you know, even a kiss on the forehead, just anything, just something. Like, Polly is obviously like insecure, and she wants like other people in the room to like think like well of her in a relationship, and that's all she kind of wants. I know that's not the perfect way to live your life, but if that's what like makes her happy, surely you just do it because she's your wife. However, they both do choose to stay for another week. Next up is Rochelle and Orson, and these two again have had another week from hell. At this point, it's just so clear that Rochelle despises Orson. Like, not even dislikes him. I'd honestly say she despises just the sight of him. She says that Orson is using his acting skills to pretend that he likes her and put this nice guy image on. Orson then, for the first time, like, stands up for himself and he's like, look, this is literally just who I am. Like, this is, I am just a nice person. Is that alright for you? Like, genuinely, unless Orson is horrific off camera, I haven't seen a single thing that is bad about this guy. During this week, there was a dinner party where like all of the couples are like talking to each other whilst they're eating, and Rochelle literally says in front of the entire group that Orson isn't masculine enough for her. Like, that is one of the worst things you can kind of say to somebody like Orson, who is basically like a masculine man. It's such a degrading thing to say to somebody. The only reason you're saying that is to hurt someone's feelings. Like, if you say that just to him, saying, look, normally I go for like a more manly man, that's not as bad, but saying it in front of the entire group and embarrassing him, it's kind of like playground stuff, like making everybody laugh at somebody. And then in the commitment ceremony, it's just awkward.
Strong masculine man is somebody who has his own mind. I'm not sure if I could trust Orson to lead me.
What do you mean? Love, be an independent bad bitch, right? You don't need a man to lead you. What do you want him to lead you into? Fucking battle? What do you mean? Lead him where? Around H&M? Like, what? I don't get what this means. You know what? I've got to walk in front of him in Primark, and I just don't think that's the kind of trait I want from a guy. Thank you very much. Lead you where? Love. Where?
I've just been raising my child for the last 20 years. I don't need to be another teacher and lead. Like, can there be some balance here?
Like, I really hate this. Like, I Rochelle, I just don't like her. I just think she's like a really mean-spirited person. Like, correct us if I'm wrong, but I think that she's grew up pretty wealthy. I'm pretty sure she mentioned that in her intro tapes. And I'm unsure if, like, she's constantly just kind of had what she's wanted. And now that, like, Austin is kind of, like, pushing back and kind of trying to, you know, well, basically just not stand for her bullshit. I feel like she doesn't like that because he's like an independent man. Like he doesn't rely on anyone. Like he doesn't like the way she's talking about him as if he's a child, and he's like far from that. It's just so strange that she constantly thrives off putting him down. She then goes on to like call him every single name under the sun, and then they decide if they want to leave or stay, and then both of them pick stay. Why? She's just embarrassed you. Why do you want to stay? Also, Rochelle, why are you staying? You've just said that you despise this man, yet you've chose to spend another week with him. Make it make sense, love. Make it make sense. It makes no sense. 0 sense. Talk about leadership. You can't even lead your own life. Come on. Neighbour's gonna love this video. Absolutely shouting the house down. I'm just into it, guys. I love it. I love it. Kieran and Christina, obviously, right? The nation's king and queen. They're fine. They're beautiful. They're thriving. It was actually in-laws week this week leading up to this commitment ceremony. And like even the in-laws got on really well. These two just look like they're just made for each other at this point. Is that going to continue? You'll have to wait and see. Sasha and Ross are also thriving. Like they had a really good time meeting each other's parents. One thing I will say is, like, in the best possible way, Sasha's parents are terrifying. Like, this is just a photo of them. Genuinely, like, imagine you were going out with someone and this was their parents. You would, like, treat them extra nice. Imagine being in a headlock from a mum. I feel like the one from a mum would be worse than from a dad. They look like villains in, like, I don't know, like a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Emma and Caspar had a difficult week. They had quite a few arguments and they slept in different rooms, and Caspar actually chose to leave as he was just fed up and he just couldn't shake off that Emma is so much like his sister still. However, Emma decided to stay. It's not funny. It's just the look on Caspar's face. He's just sick. And Emma's like so happy and so nice and is like so positive. She honestly thinks that she can salvage this, but I feel like she's just fighting a losing battle. Just quickly, guys, before we proceed with the rest of this video, make sure that you've pressed the subscribe button. Then you'll be a part of the best community on the internet, the Donuts. Oh, what could be better? Right? This is the best corner of the internet. You know it. Just press the button.
If Emma is just Emma and what we see, that just confidence, positive, I'm going to have a fabulous day every day, no matter what. Also, I find it false. It just seems to me that Emma's walls are so up. I don't feel any emotions that I could relate to.
Now, when Caspar says this, I do agree with him to an extent. However, that's just what Emma is. Like, I don't feel like you want to take that away from Emma. Like, her whole thing is that she's happy, positive. She's kind of a little bit away with the fairies, but that's, like, good. Like, it's, like, a really nice thing, and not many people have that in, like, today's world. However, Caspar is, like, a very much deeper person and kind of, like, is very emotional and wants to talk about his feelings all the time. And I just can't see how these experts thought that these two would be a good match. Like, these are meant to be expert matchmakers, and they've matched these two together. It makes no sense. And honestly, I feel like the experts are kind of just bullshit, as if I'm honest. I feel like most of us could do their job, genuinely. They like sit there and talk as if like they're like the overriding kind of expert on every single issue these guys have, when in reality the advice they give is so basic. It's like, have you tried talking? Have you tried turning each other off and on again? They also get annoyed when the couples, like, don't try to get on, when, like, the couples are just so mismatched, when in reality the issue is because they've mismatched them. Like, if you've got two parts that just don't fit together in a jigsaw, you can't make them fit together. Like, it just doesn't work. And for some reason, the matchmakers, they don't seem to grasp this. It's almost like they take it as a personal insult when a couple doesn't get on. Holly and Alex, prior to this commitment ceremony, had a pretty difficult week as all of the new couples joined up with the original cast. Alex spent a lot of the dinner party talking to Amy, and he had like his back turned to Holly, and Holly really didn't enjoy that. Like, I can understand why she would feel kind of bad because he's not really talking to her, he's talking to someone who's very beautiful. But I think it does show that Holly is insecure, obviously, because how she's been treated in her previous relationship, which she mentioned she wasn't treated very nicely. And again, it just comes back to like reassurance. Like, it's fine that Alex is speaking to Amy, like he's allowed to get to know people, but just reassure your partner and even just include her in the conversation. Like, the fact that he had his back turned to her, it's just odd, and it just shows like you're not thinking about like other people, you're only thinking about yourself. Like, this literally doesn't need to be a deep situation, but whenever Holly and Alex have a tiny thing that goes wrong, it's just absolute carnage. One thing Holly mentions as well is that she's actually a little bit scared of Alex, because when he gets angry, it looks like he's like really gonna, like, I don't want to say hurt her, but he just looks really aggressive, and I'd agree with that. Like, he has this look that when he has something he doesn't like, he goes... and you're like, oh my god, he's about to like absolutely rip my head off my neck.
I can't help the way I look, I can't help the way my face expression is, and
You can't help your facial expression. That's behaviour. Your brain controls your face. I noticed that if you...
It's the way he's looking at her like... I do get what he means though, because if he's used to like just having like a rested bitch face... Resting bitch face. Thank you, voice. It must be difficult to kind of like, especially when you're speaking, like trying to remember to change your facial expression. Like it's just going to be difficult. Like when he's angry, is he meant to be like, that's creepy. You look like you're going to be in the new Smile movie. So I do sympathise with him, especially because he's like a big guy as well. Like I feel like it just looks more intimidating than if he was like built like me. Even though they have a big argument and they're not really getting on at the minute, they both agree to stay because, let's face it, they want more airtime. That's why most of these couples stay. I'm convinced at this point. I guarantee all of these couples that are arguing would have just ghosted each other at this point if it was in the real world. Lacey and Nathan have a really like weird week leading up to the commitment ceremony. Obviously it's in-laws week, so the parents are coming to visit just to like check how they're getting on, etc., since they only really met on the wedding day. And Lacey's mum, honestly, during this, I wanted to scream inside of the television and tell her just to shut up. Nathan, like, obviously he feels dead awkward, as you kind of do when you're meeting like your partner's parents for like the first time properly. It's just kind of like weird. You want to kind of like get a little bit of chemistry going, see, kind of feel out how what their personality's like. So he makes a little joke about Lacey's mum's cooking like not being that good or something like that, something really, really minor. And Lacey's mum, the way she reacts to it is mental.
Well, she said to me, she goes, I said, what's your mum like with banter? And she goes, yeah, she don't mind banter.
No, I'm no good at banter. I'll have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm not really that great at banter.
Fucking hell, I bet she's fun at parties. Someone cracks a joke. Actually, right, can we stop? Please? No jokes in this house, thank you very much. Like, what do you mean you don't do banter? Like, what? Like, how do you have fun? Do you not, like, joke with people? It's really funny because I've seen TikToks of Lacey's mum and Lacey's sister, and they're joking, having a laugh with each other. So clearly you do have banter. So which one is it, love?
That's awful.
You've upset me now.
Nice. Shut up.
I don't think my mum took that too bad, to be fair. Doghouse.
Like, she cried over that one singular comment. Just him going, that shit. Like, yeah, it's not really that much of a funny joke, but there's no need to cry over it. Especially when Nathan's a vegan, and he's, like, said that he can't eat any of the food that she's brought because, like, it's chicken, it's fajitas. Like, he's in such an awkward position here, and it's the mom making it about her. It's just she was so weird during this. However, Lacey and Nathan are still on good terms, and they decide to stay for another week. Now in the next week, all of the couples go on a retreat together. It's kind of like just changing the environment, seeing how they interact with each other when they're on like a mini holiday, even though they've just came back from a fucking honeymoon. And this trip causes absolute carnage, especially with Hannah in particular. Obviously, Hannah and Stephen aren't having like the best kind of time at the moment, and Hannah actually goes to Orson and starts flirting with Orson and starts like trying to hold his hand, apparently in front of all of the couples, and kind of makes it a little show. And also, Hannah goes to Ryan, who's going out with Shannon, and starts feeling his feet and complimenting his eyes. Like, Hannah is on an absolute rampage here. I don't know if it's because she's just, like, not a girl's girl, or if she just kind of wants to... I don't know, like, if this is her flirting, or if this is the way she just interacts with guys. It's so strange, though. And all of the girls, like, start to kind of pull away from her and kind of, like, isolate her a little bit because of this, because they don't believe they can trust her in case she, like, steals their men. The only person she has is Amy, who's also one of the new girls, and I feel like the only reason Amy's kind of sticking with her is because they're actually paired up in the same cabin together, so, you know, it would be awkward if she kind of didn't.
And the fucking drama of this whole thing, and I don't need this shit. Why would you make more drama it doesn't need to be drama?
Now, obviously, like, this is like a running theme during this entire experiment. Like, Hannah doesn't like her and accountability. They don't really see eye to eye. Like, she'll do something that really hurts someone, and she goes, "Well, I didn't mean it in that way." Like she doesn't like take into account that someone's been hurt in this situation, and she goes, "Oh, I could see how that would have hurt you, etc., etc." She just thinks about everything from her own point of view, and this leads to all of the girls like confronting her. And I felt uncomfortable during this because even though Hannah had like kind of maybe flirted with a couple of their men, like they all kind of gang up on her, and it's a little bit awkward in my opinion. Especially Polly. Like when Polly she wasn't even involved in this situation. Like Hannah had no interaction with her man, yet she makes it all about her.
I'm not going to sit here and get every single person to tell me that what they don't like about me.
No, I'm going to tell you. Do not start speaking to people like that. The last thing you want to do is get brave.
Like, Polly, why do you do this? It's one of the ickiest things that you involve yourself in everyone's drama, and then you start like really like intimidating people and saying stuff to that. Like clearly Hannah's done something wrong, but obviously this isn't the way to solve it. Surely she should speak to the actual people one-on-one that she's hurt, not you, somebody that you're just trying to get a bit of drama and get involved.
But you've asked me a question, so let me
speak then. A conversation is two people speaking.
Like Hannah's the worst in this situation because obviously she's like flirted with other people's men, but I just can't stand Polly. I'm saying it. You know what? I try and be nice. I just can't stand her. Hannah then storms off and she actually sorts it out with Shannon and says she didn't mean to like flirt with Ryan in that way, and they kind of like talk it out and they become friends again, and then Hannah decides to join back with the group. And this is where the group play a game of like stick or twist, where basically you choose if you want to stick with your husband or if you would possibly swap with someone else. And of course Polly, being who she is, she says that she would swap Adam for Stephen, who obviously is going out with Hannah. She's just saying this to annoy Hannah for some reason. But it's just a weird thing because she's trying to get one up on Hannah, but she's literally just admitted to the whole group that she would swap her own man, and of course that's going to get back to him somehow. And Adam finds out about this and he's like absolutely raging because obviously like it's took him ages to, you know, for some reason be intimate with Polly, and now she said this. She's only just ruined that, and she's only going to make him just retract so much more than he was in the beginning. Polly, that's why, Polly, you just don't involve yourself in other people's drama. It never ends well. In other news, Rochelle and Orson are getting on as well as ever.
Once you come after my integrity, once you come after my livelihood,
you haven't got no
once you come after...
You're not even registered on Company's House, but you said you are. You're a fraud, and I've seen through you.
What the actual hell? Why are you checking if he's registered on Company's House? Like, that's just a weird thing to do. He might not be registered as a company. That doesn't mean that he's not got an income. So straight. She's like really, really toxic, Rochelle. Rochelle then does an interview with the producers where she basically calls Orson a cretin because he's made her miss her daughter's birthday. When in reality, he hasn't. Like, he just wants to kind of work this out with you, but you blame him for everything. There's loads of times in this experiment where Rochelle just hasn't showed up to things. You could easily just not have showed up to this and went to your daughter's birthday, as you've done on many occasions, but for some reason you've missed your daughter's birthday on purpose just to use that against Orson. Such strange behaviour. Maybe she needs like a man to make that decision for her. Maybe she needs a man to tell her to put her daughter first. Maybe that's what she meant by leadership from a man. And finally, in their commitment ceremony, oh my lord, they say leave. Finally, Orson is out of his misery. For I used to pray for times like this. I never thought I'd see the day. Honestly, I was like in my sitting room when they both said leave going, come on, my boy's free. Honestly, I was on Orson's side so much during this. I don't know if you've seen this show, if anyone sympathised with Rochelle, please just give your explanation why. Like, I'm not even going to combat it, I'm just genuinely interested because I really tried to see this from her point of view and I just couldn't. Kieran and Christina have one of their toughest weeks yet, as Kieran, during the commitment ceremony, tells the experts that he doesn't know if he can sustain a relationship with somebody that struggles with PMDD. Now, one thing that I really want to credit these two for is this is a really serious matter. Like, this is like a lot deeper than what a lot of the other couples are struggling with. And the way that Kieran and Christina talk about it and go about it is so, like, it's so mature. Like, Christina doesn't get angry at him for this. She just, like, talks with him. Kieran, like, be so empathetic towards that, and he tries his best not to hurt her feelings when saying it. He literally just speaks so openly about it, and it's, like, really nice to see an actual mature conversation with that doesn't end in them both screaming. However, Kieran does say that he is trying his best, and he's going to see if he can like overcome this and make this work. Sasha and Ross have a really weird week, and it's not really something that's to do with their relationship. It's more to do with beef that Sasha actually had with Alex. Sasha had a huge bust up with Alex when they were at the retreat, and Alex actually said something like, "I'm gonna speed past you in me Range Rover," or something like that.
Fuck you, Alex. Fuck you.
Could you imagine saying, like, fuck you, and somebody is just looking back at you smiling? You'd want to, like, gorge their eyes out.
Fake ass jewelry on.
So you're making it about money because you've got nothing else, because you're a fucking weasel, so you're picking anything you can. So now I wear fake jewelry.
Alex, when I see you in Birmingham, I will speed past you in the Range Rover.
Stop it! Yeah, when I see you in Birmingham, I'm going to speed past you in a Range Rover. Now, people actually did a little bit of digging, because, like, if you're going to brag about your Range Rover, like, I'm expecting you to have, like, an SVR, you know, like that 400 plus brake horsepower car. And people found out that Alex actually has a Range Rover Evoque, which obviously is still a really good car. But how do I put this? Like, the way he bragged about it was as if, like, it's like a, I don't know, as if like it's like a 50 or 60 grand car. The Range Rover Evoque is like an entry Range Rover, still a great car, but it's just weird that he's like using that as a flex. I don't know, like, why would you even use a car as a flex over someone anyway? Also, it just seems weird that he would drive that car, because, like, look at him, he's like, he looks bigger than the car. It's just because that car doesn't suit him, I think. That's why. I just wouldn't have expected that it was a Range Rover Evoque. Like, people have made memes like this, because that's how it would look if you saw him in this car. You'd have to have the sunroof open just so he can fit his head in it. And the reason that these were beefing, because Sasha, like, apparently accused Alex of being, like, really misogynistic, and he, like, looks down on women, which I actually feel like there's some truth to that, because the way that he treats Holly, like, he does talk down to her, and he does treat her a little bit sometimes like, you know, she's like dirt on the bottom of his shoe. Now, so far in this experiment, we've seen Ross as like a really happy, kind of chill guy, doesn't get involved in drama. However, Sasha kind of riles Ross up to be like angry and like stand up for her, because apparently previously in this experiment he didn't back her when Sasha wanted backed in a certain situation. So when all the couples meet up again and Ross is there, he actually straight away just comes in too hot, too fiery, and just full of anger towards Alex.
Go up to statue and apologise for what you did.
I ain't apologising.
And then? No. Get the fuck out then.
It's like even Sasha's response there, like, she's like, ooh, like, she's came out after the show and went, look, I didn't, like, want Ross to be like that, like, didn't want him to come in all hot, and that was his own decision, which it is, like, he's a man, it's his own decision. But I did pick up on the fact that Sasha kind of thrived off Ross acting this way. Like, she liked the fact that he got riled up about it and got angry and kind of, like, stood up for her, which is just, like, that's how she kind of, like, gets her validation in a relationship. But I feel like if Ross just came in, kind of chill, just talked to Alex about it, he probably would have been more open to apologising. It's just Alex is the type of guy that when someone's going at him, he just instantly gets defensive, like, he just completely closes up and acts. He basically mirrors your energy a lot of the time. However, Alex and Holly themselves are actually pretty sound, like, they're getting on really well this week for once. Same with Lacey and Nathan, they seem to have no issues at all. Like, these very much kind of go in the background of this entire experiment, because they don't, like, argue, they don't scream at each other, they're just slowly kind of building their relationship with each other. However, there was 2 more couples that actually left during this week. Obviously, I feel like you're not going to be surprised at this, but Hannah and Stephen decided, you know what, I I don't feel like we're really that good for each other, actually. Which I think is best for just Hannah's mental health, because the way that the girls were kind of ganging up on her, I don't know how much longer she would have lasted. And also, Shannon and Ryan surprisingly decided to call it quits and leave. Now, they didn't actually make it to the commitment ceremony. Like, Shannon just left. She just said, like, I don't want to do this anymore. It was so abrupt. And it was so weird because apparently they had an argument over shoelaces. And then this was where Shannon said that she just couldn't do this anymore. But we later found out that apparently Ryan had actually said to Shannon that he'd been faking his feelings towards her. And I feel like Shannon, she kind of just, I don't know if she just instantly was like checked out at that moment and was like, I'm just not doing this, because she might have been hurt in the past. And as soon as she like reaches, like, you know, when you reach that level where you're like, I'm just not going to get hurt here. I'm just going to evacuate myself from the situation, which I actually kind of rate her for, because it just proves that she's not on the show for like attention and fame. She genuinely just acted on how she felt. She's not like some of the other couples that argue every week, but for some reason decide to carry on. A new week now begins, and this is where we see both Amy and Luke kind of starting to drift apart as Amy starts to get really sick of all of Luke's sexual comments. Like, during the episodes, Luke just, like, every single comment he makes is a sexual one. And, like, some people love that. Some people, like, will really feel kind of validated that their partner finds them, like, sexy. However, Amy, like, you can tell it just gives her the ick straight away. They're having, like, a pottery class, and all he's doing is talking about, like, sexual ways. It's just weird. And Amy constantly tells him, can you stop doing that? But he just doesn't listen to her and he just carries on with it. Amy brings this up to the experts at the next commitment ceremony, and Luke agrees to try and work on it, and they both agree to stay for another week. Polly and Adam have a really good week where they don't argue at all, and they actually like get over the fact that Polly said she'd bin him for Stephen. Now Stephen's gone, he's out the picture, it doesn't matter. The only thing that was a little bit weird for Polly and Adam was this week they all kind of swapped partners just to get like different like advice for like what they should bring back to their husband and wives. And Adam was matched with Amy, who is apparently like, she's apparently his type on the outside. And they went shopping for like underwear and like sexy lingerie, and like Adam instantly was flirting a lot more with Amy than he does with Polly in public. And he was asking if Amy wanted to try on some of the lingerie. Like, it was really, he was being like overly flirty with her. Obviously Polly doesn't know that Adam was flirting with her, but even the fact they went like lingerie shopping together, Polly kind of feels a little self-conscious about this, and she brings it up to Adam. And one really sad moment that is starting to happen is Christina and Kieran are starting to drift away a little bit after being like the strongest couple in the experiment for the first couple of weeks. Now, I praised Kieran for how he handled bringing up that he's struggling with going out with someone that struggles with PMDD. However, during this week, from my perspective, I feel like he doesn't want, because he's such a nice person, he doesn't want to seem like a bad person, and I think he thinks that if he be's honest and says, I can't be with you because of your PMDD, he feels like everyone's going to think he's a really bad person, where people don't. So he starts to bring up other excuses why Christina's possibly not right for him. Like, he talks about how Christina is a lot like his ex, yet he's never ever mentioned this like previously, so this is kind of like out of the blue and doesn't really make sense. It's almost like he's trying to find other things to blame instead of kind of boiling it down to that he can't cope with that PMDD, which is a little bit of a shame, because so far they've both handled it so well. And during this, Christina is like the nicest person in the world. She's just kind of like taking it, giving him his space, kind of just being like, you know what, when you're ready, I'm here, but like, don't take too long, but when you're ready, I'm here, you just letting you know. Moving on, Sasha and Ross have a really, really explosive week. The game of the diarrhea, it's just, I don't know what's going on in this apartment block, the food must be awful. They have a huge argument which ends in Ross actually getting his wedding ring off his finger, throwing it at the wall, and apparently he was like closing his eyes so he couldn't lip read what Sasha was saying, and he was like going absolutely mental. And obviously like Sasha, like Ross is a big guy, like this is going to be like really intimidating, especially when, you know, he does struggle with his hearing, so it's not like you can kind of just like tell him to calm down. Like, if he can't see what you're saying, like what you meant to do, and you can tell this like really, really hurts Sasha. However, Ross actually wrote like he really grovelled. He wrote like an apology letter. He was like dead nice to her. He was like doing loads of things to try and get her trust back. And they both decide to stay for another week because they end the week on like a really nice note. So it's good that they managed to patch that up. However, I don't want to give anything away, but this might not be the end of their drama. Moving on, Emma and Casper. This is finally the week that they both leave. Oh, again, I used to pray for times like this. These two, from the very start, didn't have a single connection at all. They kissed once, right? It was a peck. It was nothing. Something like the way that you'd kiss your mother or something. Well, actually, not on the lips. I don't kiss my mum on the lips, right? If you do that, you're a little bit weird, not gonna lie. Wait, is that weird? I think it is. Dirty bastards. What? What am I saying? I'm just glad that they both decided to leave because they had another horrific week, and you know, the expert matchmakers just totally got this wrong. Like from the very first week, Casper couldn't get over the fact that Emma looked and acted exactly like his sister, who he in fact despises. This was just doomed from the offset, and I can't believe that the matchmakers didn't like foresee this, because this is a really bad flaw on their behalf. They didn't give them a chance. And also, Emma like deserves someone better for her, because Emma's such a nice, caring person, and I want to make that clear. I just love the love for life she has, and she's going to meet somebody that is going to like really share that passion for life that she does, and she's going to live a great life and have loads of babies, I imagine. So I just want to make that clear, because she's lovely. Now, Holly and Alex have another week from hell. Like, all they do all week is argue. There's a dinner party, they argue. Together in their apartment, they argue. All they do is scream at each other. They don't see eye to eye. When they have an argument, they don't see it from each other's point of views. They just shout over each other until like one person stops speaking. It's awful. It's genuinely awful.
He's rude, he's arrogant, I remember who the hell I am, and I don't put up with this.
Oh, okay. Pop off, fucking queen. Go on. Fucking give it to him. I love Holly. Actually, I don't. I actually don't love her. But I love her because she's definitely like one of those moms on Facebook that like posts like, know your worth, girls. Honestly, right? I'm glad I've got rid of him. I'm ready to live, laugh, love again. She's like one of those people that when you open Facebook, like she's the first status, like calling like her ex, like every name under the sun. She's like still angry at like a relationship she had in school, even though she's like 35. Like she's that type of person. As you've just saw, like when they're sitting on the sofa with the experts, like they just go at each other and call each other the worst names. And guess what? Right? They stay for another week. No, they don't. They leave. Yes. Get in! Get in! So I've never celebrated like that in a while. I'm so happy that I don't get to see these two on my screen ever again. They brought nothing but toxicity. They didn't bring a single funny moment, either of them. I know that's pretty cruel, but I just believe both of them are they're just toxic people. They're just both kind of just, I don't know, like being in a relationship with either of them would be pretty hard, especially Alex, but both of them as well. Moving on, unsurprisingly, Lacey and Nathan, absolute smashing this shit. Going under the radar, but having the best week yet. They're basically just making their bond stronger and stronger. And yeah, now we're into the final week of the experiment. This is basically the last commitment ceremony these guys are gonna have. And prepare yourself, because it's emotional. Now, leading up to this commitment ceremony, they actually have their homestays where basically they go home, they kind of get the advice of their parents, and it's kind of just return to normality and seeing like how their kind of emotions feel when they're back in like their own homes, etc. Because that's like an important thing, because this is where you're probably going to live together, etc. But it's also a time for them to just take time apart and then also come back together and just, you know, strengthen their bonds. Now, Luke actually went and met with Amy's friends, and Amy, like, how do I go about this? I felt really uncomfortable watching this because it was almost like they already had made their mind up on Luke before they even met him, which made me think like Amy's been slagging him off quite a lot. This actually resulted in Luke getting his wedding ring and throwing it away. Like, just take a look at this.
I do woodwork, I do like crafts, I build little furniture, stuff like that. Play the guitar a bit.
What else?
Is there a specific question you want to...
Now, what Amy's alluding to here is Luke actually used to be like what do you call them, where like the barman but they wear nothing, you know what I mean? Like I don't even know what you call them. This seems like I do know what I call them, and I'm being really defensive here. I genuinely don't. I don't go to those kind of You know what I mean, though? Like a butler, kind of sexy butler guy. During this entire experiment, Amy is like kept bringing this up, even though Luke doesn't do it anymore. And he did it before he knew who she was. It's like totally in his past, but Amy can't get over the fact that he used to do this, which is kind of weird. And she keeps trying to bring it up with her friends so her friends can talk about it.
At the start that he just did like nightclub jobs in jeans with his top off. And then it came out and then it just was like, ugh.
Why do you feel like you needed to lie?
I don't know. I think sometimes I just do that, like when I want to soften the blow.
Sometimes you just lie?
It's not about how you start, I think. It's about how we develop, because we all have flaws, isn't it? And even liars deserve to be, you know, in love as well at the end of the day.
As long as you learn from your mistakes.
I mean, you know, one thing you have to consider a lot of during this is that this is Luke's second language, and I know that's not an excuse, but I feel like sometimes when he says things, you're like, what? That's such a weird thing to say. Like, even liars deserve to be in love. Like, that's a weird thing to say.
I've just come here and I felt like the first introduction was a negative light. It was like you wanted me to say that, and it was like, that's
say
the thing
what? I wanted you to say what?
About being a butler in the bath. That's our conversation.
Okay. Right, okay.
I do actually agree with them on this, because they've talked about this so many times, and like straight away the first thing that she brings up is like trying to get this out of him that he used to be a butler in the buff. Like, it's almost like she's trying to embarrass him in front of her friends, and the way she looks at her friends all the time, like, I just think she, like, I feel like a lot of times during this process, Amy tries to get like a moment and tries to like be kind of like, I don't know, like tries to get clipped up for TikTok or whatever, and it never really lands, in my opinion. Like, Luke isn't the best. He tells loads of white lies. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I feel like Amy plays up to the cameras quite a bit, and you're going to see in the final vows why that's kind of proven. The expert actually called Amy out for this when they sat at the commitment ceremony, and you can tell by Amy's face that she really, like, she doesn't like what she's hearing. Like, she believes that she's like always right, I believe. She doesn't actually think she's done anything wrong in this situation, but she's kind of playing along with it just so she can kind of like, I guess, seem like a good person. However, she actually decides that she wants to leave the experiment, but Luke's like, you know what, love? No, you're staying. I don't know why. Even after you embarrassed us to all your friends, I still want you, love. Polly and Adam have a bit of like a mixed week, because when Polly went to Adam's family, they had like a big argument like in front of like Adam's friend, and it was really awkward. However, when Adam went to Polly's house and was around Polly's family, he really liked it, and he saw like Polly as like a different person to what she is in the experiment, apparently, which I can kind of see, because in the experiment Polly is very confrontational. She's involved in everyone's drama, and when she's away from that, Adam probably does see a different side to her. But I just feel like Adam just never really likes Polly, honestly. Like, it's like, we're like 7 weeks in and Adam's still not sure what he thinks about her. Like, at that point, you've kind of just got to call it quits, mate. However, they both decide to stay for another week, even though Adam still doesn't think he likes her. And even Polly's family say, we don't like Adam. Like, these two are the biggest, like, wanting to stay on the show people that there is. Like, these two just want as much airtime as possible, I believe, at this point, because they're clearly just not going to work. Now, I've got to warn you, this next one, it made us cry when I watched it. Kieran and Christina. Oh. Kieran and Christina have really kind of eye-opening homestays. They kind of spend them apart. Kieran talks to his friends and family and says he just doesn't really see a future with Christina. Christina talks to her mum and says she would love to spend the rest of her life with Kieran. Oh my God. I hate this. I hate it.
Gonna leave.
Okay. Wow, you've both written leave, so of course this is the end of the experiment for the two of you. Genuinely wish you both the very best.
Thank you.
And I hope that the two of you stay.
Oh no, like, that's actually really sad. That's so sad. That's the second time I've watched that. That's so sad. Oh, mate. Oh, they're two such lovely people, and like, even the experts are welling up. Like, the experts don't really care when, like, you know, anyone leaves. They just kind of brush it off with these two. They like you heard her say, she wishes the best for them because they're just two genuine people, and unfortunately Kieran just couldn't, you know, get past what his mental barriers with Christina. When I watched that, after the episode finished, I had to sit for like 10 minutes and just kind of like just Just be present. Genuinely, it really upset us. I can't show much footage from the show because I'll get copyrighted, but the way that they speak about each other is just so sad.
To go from that wedding to then how we are now, every time I look at the wedding pictures, I literally say to him, I want that man back.
It's so sad because she loves him and she genuinely cares for him so much. And it's so sad because, like, you know, like, if you've had a relationship before, you'll know that it's not as bad as someone dying, but it can be very similar because, like, you're mourning someone that is still alive, but you're not in their life anymore, or they're not in your life. It's like, it's one of the most difficult things because it's almost like a part of you's been ripped out. You know, like a big part of like what's made you is leaving you, and it's not because they're not in the world anymore, just because they don't necessarily want to be with you anymore, and that is like one of the most difficult things to kind of process. And there's no like easy way to do it because, you know, like the way that you feel, you can't help the way that you feel. You can help the way that you think, but you can't help the way that isn't here. And that's like what, you know, really is one of the most difficult things in life is trying to get over the heartbreak of mourning someone that is still alive. And I know that sounds really deep and like really deep for this channel, but yeah, it's really not very nice. And anyone going through that at the moment, just stay strong because, you know, you might never forget that person, but you will emotionally recover and you will become whole again, and you will go into another relationship which will hopefully be a lot better for you and a lot more you know, and spend the rest of your lives together. Or you can just be an independent bad bitch for the rest of your life and be happy. Right? So they do actually, in fact, leave the experiment, and this is one of the hardest ones to take, I can't lie. Moving on. Sasha and Ross have quite an interesting homestays week. Sasha actually meets Ross's daughter, and she says she really likes the connection Ross has with his daughter because it reminds her of her and her dad, you know, the big scary one. However, Sasha is like adamant that she doesn't want to move to where Ross is from. She wants Ross to move to where she's from, which I find a little off because I know, like, you know, this is very much a 50-50 experiment and you have to have some give and take, but Sasha doesn't have any kids, and I feel like if she really wants this to work, she has to move to where Ross is from. She says the reason she can't do that is because she can't be away from her parents, which is a total, you know, fair thing to have. However, she's been away from her parents for 7 or 8 weeks in this experiment and she's handled it pretty well. I just believe it's much deeper to leave a child than it is to leave your parents, because a child doesn't understand why you're moving away from them, and you need to be there for your child, because it's really upsetting when, you know, you're not with a parent all of the time and you don't understand why, because you can't process that as a child. And, you know, it can have lasting effects on you where you kind of, sometimes you can think you're not good enough, or you can just wonder why someone, you know, doesn't want to spend time with you or something like that. So I just think it's so important that Ross is with his daughter, and I don't really feel like Sasha has like much weight in this kind of debate. However, one thing that I really do feel for Sasha with is that Ross has another like bust up where he goes crazy again. They have an argument and Ross decides to like start throwing food off the walls and getting really angry and raising his voice really loudly. And in the commitment ceremony, Sasha actually starts crying her eyes out because of this. And this is like really scary because Ross is having like a consistent pattern of this behaviour now. Wasn't just a one-off like the last week where he closed his eyes and he was shouting, etc. And I'm not saying Sasha's innocent because, you know, she is very much like a fiery person as well. But it must be scary for her when Ross is kind of having these moments, because there's nothing she can do to calm him down, especially when it's just them two. Like, you don't know how that could end. If he's thrown food off the wall, like, who does that as an adult? It's a little bit weird. Sasha actually votes to leave, like, she just checks out at this point, but Ross votes to stay. So Sasha's just got to put up with food on the wall, I'm afraid. Lacey and Nathan, again, I feel like every single week I mention these two, they're just getting stronger and stronger. Nathan actually says that he loves her, which is a big thing to say, Nathan. One thing I want to know on these two is, like, Lacey was very worried that Nathan wasn't going to give her the reassurance she needed. And Nathan, week on week, has got better and better and better with this, especially when I've mentioned before he struggles with ADHD. This is, like, a really big thing for him. The fact he's saying to Lacey that he loves her and he's actually given her the affection that she wants week on week. It's such a nice thing because it's one of the only couples in the entire experiment that are having a graph that's quite linear, going all the way up. They're very rarely up and down, and if they are, they sort it straight away. Now, that is all of the commitment ceremonies done. We're now at the final stage of the experiment, the final vows, where basically they confess their love to each other and decide if they're going to make this marriage permanent. Obviously, the only couples we have left at this point is Amy and Luke, Holly and Adam, somehow, I have no idea how, Sasha and Ross, and Lacey and Nathan. So out of all of these couples that these experts have expertly matched, we have 4 left. Why are they in a job? They call themselves experts. They're not experts. Come on. I feel like we could have done a better job. Collectively, as the donut, I feel like we could have got 5 couples to stay together if we matched them. So a lot of these final vows are dramatic, and you can tell that a lot of these couples, for some reason, have just been kind of just waiting until the end so they can just get to the end for the sake of it. Because a lot of these couples just clearly aren't in love with each other. Sasha and Ross like kind of open up to each other, but then Sasha storms off because Ross doesn't know if he's going to move to where she's from.
You've not had my back with them vows, that's what I feel like. I need a minute, can I have a minute?
Again, I'm not too sure. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on Sasha, because I'm totally with her when Ross is like having his outbursts and making her feel uncomfortable. I'm totally on her side there. But when it comes to her always saying Ross doesn't have her back, when he's like, he goes out of his way to have her back all of the time. And the fact that like she doesn't know how committed he is because he doesn't want to move to where she's from, it's kind of a strange kind of vibe she gives off when it comes to like decision making and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. Amy does this thing where like if she wears a white wedding dress, it means that she's like in love with Luke, and if she wears a black one, it means that she doesn't want anything to do with him. Like Amy is trying so hard to be the main character here. Like, a lot of times during this experiment, she forgets that Luke's an actual person. Like, I know that he acts like a dickhead at various parts with his little white lies, but he's still a person with feelings, and Amy just is so cold with him.
I came into this experiment knowing exactly what I wanted, and I'm leaving this experiment knowing exactly what I do not want. I know my worth, and you aren't worthy of me. This marriage is done. Dead. Deceased.
Like she thought that she ate there, but she just didn't. I'm sorry, it didn't land. Like, I thought she was expecting people to be like, oh! But really, I'm just like, it's a bit of a dick move. Like, why are you talking? Like, you're speaking to the cameras here. You're not speaking to him. Like, you know there's an audience here. You're like, again, embarrassing him. Like, she loves to, like, she just has this aura where she likes to embarrass people. It's weird.
I stand here in front of you today, wearing black to mourn its death. R.I.P.
Like, she definitely thinks that, like, she's going to be the main character of this show and that everyone's going to, like, love her and she's going to turn into, like, a huge influencer. Am I being a bit brutal here? Maybe I am, but I can just see through this. Like, it's clear that she's on this show, or at least towards the end of this show when she checked out the relationship, she was like, I'm just going to kind of build my profile up here. Very weird behaviour. And I've saw that she's hanging out with Holly afterwards, so if she gets on with Holly, that kind of shows, you know, I'm being pretty harsh here, but it kind of shows. If you two have things in common, then that's a little bit worrying. Also, I want to make sure that, like, I don't think Luke's the perfect person. I feel like I've mentioned that loads of times. But you could have been a little bit more respectful here. Like, it's just so cold. Holly and Adam just argue. Like, this is meant to be the best part, the final vows, and they're still just arguing. It's boring.
I don't think I've led you on.
You have, though, because you haven't been honest with me. You came in and talked the talk, and you weren't walking the walk.
And you know what? Right, I don't know if I've said this in this video yet, but I actually agree with Polly. He has led her on. This entire time he's been stringing her along, like, kind of feeding her tiny little bits, being like, yeah, maybe he's a little bit interested in you, and she's like, oh, great, get in. He actually wants to look at me in the eyes. Another winner. And Adam has give off this, like, nice guy vibe, like, oh, I'm just a nice guy, I'm just perfect, and, you know, I'm just trying to work this out, whereas really, I don't feel like he is really that much of a nice guy. This doesn't excuse Polly's behaviour to other people, like the way she always gets involved in other people's drama, but I feel like I mentioned this previously in this video. I feel like that's very much a projection of how she feels in her own relationship, because if she was happy in her own relationship, I doubt that she would be getting involved in other people's relationships as much as what she is. So maybe all of this hatred, all of this anger stems from her relationship with Adam, which I believe it does. Adam then storms off, and then hopefully this is the last we ever see of these two. I'm being so harsh in this this video. I'm just sick of some of the couples that are clearly just not right for each other. Weeks of this I've had. Weeks! The only saving grace of this show is Lacey and Nathan. Like, their final vows are the only final vows where I'm like, oh my god, these two are amazing for each other.
At times I feared that if I didn't give you the communication that you expected, that this would upset you. I worried that eventually you'd give up. However, I promised myself I'd put things right. There is so much I love about you. I love your quirky little mannerisms.
Oh, right, okay, I'm gonna start, like, absolutely just bawling my eyes out again, guys. See that? See it? Goosebumps. Goosebumps! Fucking love these two. And yeah, that's basically the end of the main part of the show. Like, that's how it kind of ends. However, they do have a reunion dinner where it's just absolute carnage. Like, you've got Holly just arguing with Hannah again, and I don't really want to cover it because it's stuff that we've already kind of seen. Just Holly screaming at Hannah, and I'm kind of just sick of seeing Holly's face, if I'm honest. I'm sick of most of them. Alex. One person I just never wanted to see again was Stephen. I'm like, they invited Stephen back. Why? The guy did nothing. Literally nothing. The only thing that is interesting in this entire part is that Hannah walked in with Ryan, and obviously Ryan was going out with Shannon, and obviously, like, Hannah flirted with Ryan by rubbing his feet and telling him he had nice eyes. But I believe that they did that because I think both of them, they're not together, but I don't believe, but both of them felt quite burnt by the experiment and burnt by everyone involved in it. So I feel like this was their, like, fuck you to them. Like, we're basically just going to come in here and just kind of cause a little bit of carnage, then leave because we don't like any of you. That's the main reason I feel like they did this. And the last episode of this show is the reunion commitment ceremony. So they're not kind of like saying, I want to stay with the person. They're just kind of talking about how each of them kind of went through the process. It's just basically like a roundup. Basically, it's a cash grab so they can get another episode and get some more advert time. But, you know, we're here for it. Now, there's only two things that I want to show from this because it's two very contrasting clips, but two clips that made me feel a certain way. The first one is an emotional one. It's Kieran and Christina because I just love these two. I really want to see just I wish these two could have worked it out. So basically they're watching their entire journey like back, like everything filmed for the first time, which is a bit weird seeing yourself on camera, but imagine how emotional this would be because this is not just like you've been on Big Brother and you're watching it back and you've seen your funny moments. Like, you're seeing your highs, your lows, and you're bringing all of these emotions to the surface, and just the way they react, you can see how genuine these guys really were.
I'm potentially risking losing one of the best women that I could ever wish for, but if I can't see things moving forward, I'm not going to lead you on because I do care about you, but at the minute it feels like more of a friendship than anything else, and I never came in here to hurt anyone.
What do you even say to that? Like, this is one of the most rawest, realest things I've ever watched on a reality TV show. We know reality TV show, a lot of it's just fucking bullshit, and a lot of it is just fake, and a lot of it is just, you know, fabricated relationships to improve your followers. These two were the realest people. The realest, both of them just... Let's watch some more.
I just don't know how much I've got left in us for the amount of emotional support Christina needs.
Gonna
Whoa!
That hit everyone, right?
Look at them! They're all in fucking tears, man! I'm never getting over this. I feel like I've had a breakup. I feel like I was a part of this relationship. Oh, I just needed to show that. Apologies. I just love them both. I hope they're both. If both of them watch this or either of them watch this, I just want you to know I wish the very best for you because you're fucking great. Now, in contrast to that, one of the funniest moments I've ever seen on reality TV happened at this. It involves Luke and Amy talks about how Luke sent her like a letter, like saying how much he loves her, etc. And then at the very end of the letter, bearing in mind Amy hates, and I mean hates, Luke's sexual comments about her. This is the last line that Luke left in this letter. You need to see this.
I wish I'd have got down on my knees when you were cooking in the kitchen and terrorised your bumhole.
What your thoughts were around terrorising the bumhole?
I need a minute. Give us a minute. Whew. So Luke, you'd use the word terrorise, which that's not even funny. It is funny though, isn't it? Why would you say that you want to terrorise someone's bumhole? What does that even mean? Terrorise their bumhole? Like commit war crimes to someone's bumhole? What does that mean? What is that? That's just me after a curry. Oh, why'd I say that? It's just one of the funniest things, and it just shows just how stupid Luke acts sometimes. Now, I just want to end this video on a current update on how all of these couples are doing, if any of them are still together. Polly and Adam obviously aren't together. However, Adam apparently is getting really close and possibly going out with Amy. Like, you see this photo of them together, like, they've been pictured so much together. There's also, like, a comment which says, are you two together? And Amy likes it, so it's kind of inferring that they could possibly be together. Which kind of brings all of Polly's insecurities back, because Polly was insecure that Adam fancied Amy. And Adam was like, no, I don't. But then afterwards, they're getting close, so obviously Polly was kind of right and correct in how she was feeling. Rochelle and Orson obviously have never seen each other since the experiment. Eve and Charlie, of course not. Christina and Kieran aren't together, but they are actually really good friends, which is really good to hear. Sasha and Ross are no longer together. And what is interesting is Ross actually announced his new relationship as soon as the episode dropped where they left the experiment. It's like he just basically wanted to get that out the way straight away. Sasha actually put a really emotional Instagram post up about this where it was photos of her and Ross. Ross, not Ross. Oh, Ross! Where she basically said, like, Ross doesn't want to acknowledge that we went through this journey together. However, I'm going to do it, which I thought was quite nice, but it's still a little bit weird because he's got a new girlfriend. How was she feeling during this? Emma and Casper are no longer together. Holly and Alex, I'm unsure on, because these two have been posting together. Like, Alex put like a big emotional Instagram post up about them together, and like Alex has literally got his phone screensaver as them two. Like, these two are just the most toxic. I have no idea. They're basically like that couple that break up every single week and then are back together the next week. Not gonna lie, not really here for them, but I don't really feel like they care about my opinion. Obviously, Amy and Luke aren't together. Something about, you know, getting her bumhole terrorised kind of give her the ick. I don't know why. Hannah and Stephen obviously aren't together. Shannon and Ryan obviously aren't together. And guys, I've got a little bit of a bombshell. Our sweethearts, Lacey and Nathan, right? The golden couple. The couple that were like this every single week. They're no longer together. What? You're joking, aren't you? Apparently, right? Apparently they're no longer together. Nathan came out in an interview and just said that the couple wanted different things, which is so sad because I feel like they really worked. Like, they worked on their relationship and it seemed like they had a really good connection, but obviously something along the line somewhere is kind of just, I don't know, they've just grew apart. Maybe he said a few more jokes to her mum. Her mum was like, sorry, Nathan. Bang. Get out of here. No banter in this house, thank you very much. So I just want to make this clear. You know, the experts that run this show, the self-proclaimed matchmaking love experts, how many of these couples did they actually get over the line? Zero. Maybe's one. Holly and Alex, but that was kind of just by fluke. Like, that doesn't count as a healthy couple. How can you call yourself experts when you can't even get one couple to the end of an experiment? It just shows this experiment is complete bullshit, by the way. It's not a good, like, way to meet a partner at all. But one thing I will say, it brings the best entertainment possible. I think this is my favourite reality show I've ever covered. I think it's better than Love Island. I think it's better than Love is Blind. It's insane. Every single night, Monday to Thursday, I was like, I need to watch that. 9 o'clock, I know where I am. I missed the football because of this show. That's kind of sad, but you know, I'm a manly man, I'll admit that. One side note that I do want to say is, like, Alex didn't turn up to the reunion, and apparently it was because he got jailed. He's reportedly served 24 days of a 34-day sentence before being fired from his role within the RAF. Alex worked for the RAF, and apparently it's like a crime for him to, like, leave his post and go on this show, so he had to serve jail time for it. This man, it just, like he just has so many surprises. He's like a bag of revels, right? You just don't know what you're gonna get every single day. And also there's rumours that Ross was apparently stealing money from some of the contestants. A TikToker called Jet Set Gypsy actually released this information.
From what I have been told, at the end of the show, he had asked to borrow money from a bunch of the grooms. Apparently the amount for each groom varied somewhere between £200 and £500 each. And a lot of them agreed to give him this money because he said that he was, like, not doing well financially and that he needed money to feed his daughter, which who could say no to that? But the friendships have all gone south after Ross didn't pay the money back. And on top of that, It appeared to the grooms like he took his new girlfriend, Magda, on holiday with the money that they had lent him.
I mean, that's I don't know if that's fact, but that's, you know, what's been reported. This just kind of says, like, what kind of guy is Ross? Like, because I actually really liked Ross. And then the more the experiment went on, I don't know if it was the more you seen who he actually is or the more you just lost him. It's so strange. It's just interesting to see how all of these people kind of changed as the experiment went on. But yeah, I just want to hear your opinion. Did you watch Married at First Sight? Or even if you didn't watch it, what do you think of my explanation of each of the couples? Do you like certain couples? Do you not? I want to hear all of your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you like this kind of long video, because this has took so much research, weeks of research, and Justin's put so much time and effort into this. Let us know what other shows you would like us to do this on. I was thinking maybe Big Brother this year. And if you want to watch a video exactly like this where I cover an entire season of a show, we actually did Love is Blind UK, the first season of that. So make sure you go and watch that one, because there's some mental drama in that. Or if you want a shorter, lighter video than that, watch a brand new video on my Reacts channel.